Good morning, traders. It is 5:45 a.m. on Monday, April 8th. I'm Jonathan van Clute with Stock Navigators, reminding you, as always, to please subscribe to the channel if you're new, and also leave me feedback, comments, any symbols you'd like analyzed, any particular questions you might have, anything like that. I would love to be able to do whatever I can to help you out in your trading. So let's start by taking a look at the S&P 500 this morning. We have a new week. It's going to be interesting to see what this week holds because the S&P has been pushing up and up and up and up and up, and the bulls have just been so incredibly determined and incredibly stubborn and unwilling to let this market drop. So at the moment, we are still up and we are gunning for this area up here, this sell zone, which is the all-time highs. Right back here was the all-time high. Then, of course, we failed to make a new high and broke the higher low. And then, of course, we had the big correction. And right now, we are trying to get right back up there again. But will we be able to do it? I don't know. I've said this so many times in the last weeks and months at this point, but the oscillator just getting weaker and weaker and weaker, and you can see it on the 60-minute, especially. It's not looking good for this push up, especially this latest one. I mean, we're pushing up to even new highs, and the oscillator is now trying to get below the zero line, so that is going to be potentially very significant. We cross below the zero line, combined with just any little reason for profit taking, and we should be seeing a pretty significant correction. It's tricky to say exactly where we are in the wave counts here because these pullbacks have been so shallow. Do they even count? They're not 38.2%. So we could dismiss them on that, but remember, there's a 15% chance that it's less than 38.2. So it's really difficult to say definitively where we're at if you're trying to count waves. But what there is no disagreement on, there can be no arguing on, is that we have this big sell zone, a very significant sell zone right overhead. So that is a big deal. That being said, right now uptrend is still intact. Here's our trend line. And every time price has gotten back near it, it's been a buying opportunity. Even this last time, price broke below it, but then just immediately pushed right back over it. And this zone here held as support. What was resistance before became support, was tested, and then held, and we marched higher. So anything is possible. We get some good news coming out this week. Some good reports coming out from certain companies, things like that. Maybe that pushes the market higher, or you could argue that that's probably already priced in, and it would be a buy the rumor, sell the news type of scenario. And we could see that be maybe the catalyst that the correction has needed. We will have to wait and see, but this is definitely a delicate area. Not the first time we've been in a delicate area, but it has just gotten that much more delicate with how low the oscillator is right now, and how we're barely holding above the zero line. Today, we'll have to see what happens when the bell opens. But if we start to pull back, technically right now, you're still looking for buy the dip opportunities because we still have higher highs and higher lows. And right now we have a higher high. So we're looking to make a higher low if this move has anything left in it. So on the one hand, trade to the long side. On the other hand, be prepared for a pullback. So a little bit of a conflicted, contradictory message happening right now at this level, but that's just where we find ourselves. So we'll have to see, can the market push back up into this sell zone, or does it run out ahead of time? We will have to wait and see. All right, let's take a look at crude oil, see what's going on there. And what's going on there is just also very stubborn bulls. This is a strong trend. Not so much. Let me rephrase that. It's not so much that they're being stubborn, because they're not at any kind of a resistance area, any kind of a level where I would expect prices to stop or anything like that. So the fact is, this move is just continuing. That's really what it is. It's an uptrend, higher highs and higher lows, and we have this whole downtrend here to retrace. So right now we are doing that. There is a retracement happening on the daily, and it is retracing significantly into that move already. It's roughly 50% already of that move. So Of course, that's considering that this was a downtrend. But if you look on a longer term basis, we were in an uptrend, and it pulled back to double bottom here. So, what's going to happen here? Are we going to establish a new uptrend and take out these highs, or are we going to be range bound for a while and bounce around between the 78-ish level and the 45-ish level, somewhere in there? Certainly could do that for a while, and that's a big range in oil. There's a lot of money to be had there if that becomes a range bound kind of scenario, just trading up and down between those levels. So right now, the trend is up. It's as simple as that. Higher highs and higher lows. Oscillator is strong. Is actually been gaining in strength recently. The MACD line has crossed above the zero line and is holding up there. So on a daily basis, the trend is up. There's just no question about it. On the 60-day, you can see the higher highs and higher lows being formed. Right this moment, the oscillator is coming down. It's losing some momentum. The MACD line crossed below the zero line, and right now it is heading towards the zero line, but it not with any real excitement here. You can see since yesterday, which was Sunday, since today is Monday, and the market did open yesterday. It hasn't done a whole lot. It's just kind of been drifting downwards, and you could make the argument that we have a flag here, a bull flag. We'll have to wait and see. It's going to have to break out of that flag and continue higher to be confirmed as a flag. You also could argue that this was a flag here. And whoops, that was a bad line. And that would also be a reasonable argument, which right now it appears that we are in fact getting continuation of that flag. You can see it here as well, right there. So these are just things to realize, to pay attention to. But let the price action dictate what you're going to want to do. Right now, that price action is higher highs and higher lows. So I'd be looking for an opportunity to enter long. So ideally on a daily basis, I'd love to see a pullback to the 21 EMA. And you can see every time it's pulled back in here, once it's held above it, then there's been some continuation, some follow through there. So this is acting as really, really good support. I'd love to see another pullback to it for another opportunity to enter to the long side. But definitely, this is an uptrend, so trade in the direction of the trend. All right, taking a look at gold. And gold, you may recall, I was looking at this as a bear flag, right? And it may yet prove to be that. We did break down, get a little bit of follow through, but then we went sideways. And now we have broken to the upside. So does that mean the flag is canceled? Well, not necessarily. I mean, right now we're in this zone here, we're in this sell zone, and it is trying to get above it. Hasn't done it quite yet, but it's working on it. Oscillator has picked up some strength. Definitely is trying to pick up steam. We had a very bullish divergence going on here, and we had the oscillator is considerably stronger as price was making lower lows. Oscillator was making higher lows. So that was a pretty good sign that behind the scenes there is some bullish momentum picking up. And right this moment, anyway, the 60-minute is showing that and pushing to the upside. But is this just a bear trap? Is this just a little bit of a retracement, little correction in this move? Or is this actually the beginnings of a continuation of this move up? Was this a double bottom basically here? In which case, certainly I would expect follow through to the upside as well. So, gonna have to see what it wants to do on the daily. Again, if this is it's more or less a double bottom here, you've got a slightly bullish oscillator here, making as price technically made slightly lower lows, oscillator made slightly higher lows. So we've got some definite bullish suggestions going on here. Right now, price on the daily is above the 21 EMA. And if it can hold there and use that as support from which to launch a new move to the upside, then we can certainly see some follow through. We'll be looking for a break of this previous lower high in order to confirm that that has happened. Otherwise, if it continues to the downside and takes out this low here, then we've got lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, etc., and the downtrend is intact. So we'll have to see what the price action wants to give us, wants to dictate in this market. Right now, anyway, we're flirting with this top of the zone here. We're going to have to see what can happen when the market opens. Can gold hop over that zone and march higher, or is it going to give up and pull back from there? All right, looking at natural gas. Natural gas is just, again, I've been saying this for a while now, just super, super low momentum, just not much going on. Price is just sort of rolling over very gently, coming down, maybe to test a double bottom around in here. It might not even quite get that low. Right now, we got a bullish candle forming here. You can see it on the 60 right there. That is a large range candle for recent natural gas history. It hasn't been really doing a whole lot. These ranges have mostly been really strong, and then the occasional exception coming in, but for the most part, these ranges have been quite small. Right now, we got pretty decent oscillator. You can see other times it's been up at this level, though. As it's pulled back again, it has just been a pullback in a continuation of the downtrend. So right now, we still have lower lows and lower highs going on. So it's going to have to climb up over this high to change that, and then establish a higher low as well to really get bullish on this, which would more or less probably take us to over the 21 EMA and hold. So that's kind of what I'm looking for, is a hop over the 21 EMA, hold, and want to launch higher. And then ultimately it's got to take out these highs here. That would be the signal that there is definitely a new bull trend in effect. And we would want to be trading with that trend and going to the long side. All right, let's finish up with crypto, and Bitcoin is really really holding on to those gains. I'm pleasantly surprised after this massive, huge surge here. I was expecting a pullback. I was definitely expecting a pullback to form a higher low somewhere, maybe in here, maybe around there, somewhere in this area, and then launch higher from there if this was going to be a new bull trend. But wow, it's really hanging on to those gains. Very impressive for the Bitcoin bulls. Um, we'll have to see what is ultimately going to happen here. But right now, I mean, there's no arguing with it at all. The trend is very, very up. It's also very up on the 60, although for the last couple hours or so, it's gone sideways. But I mean, it's early morning here, Pacific time. It's even early morning East Coast time during those hours. So that's not that big of a deal. And so much of the trading is automated anyway. And we've seen other times when the trend went sideways to slightly down, and we're seeing the exact same thing here again. So is this just another buy the dip moment? I don't know. We'll have to see what the price action wants to do. Right now, the MACD line has crossed below the signal line. So at this moment, short term, the bears are in control, but how long will they be able to hold it is the question. Right now, we've got kind of an equal and opposite scenario developing here, where we have a big candle down in one direction, and we have another equally big candle coming to regain that same height. There is only a couple minutes left in this second candle here, though, so not sure it's going to have it in it to actually recoup all of that candle, but it's a pretty significant portion, definitely more than half of that candle. So the bulls are fairly determined here and are hanging on to those gains nicely. We'll have to see how this plays out over the longer term. Is this genuinely a turnaround? Have we finally definitively put in the bottom back here? There's good arguments to be made for that, but until the price action confirms by doing a higher high and then pulling back to a higher low and then break the higher high, we can't be 100% sure of what exactly is going on. It's looking good though. It's looking good for the crypto bulls. We'll just have to see if Bitcoin can hang on to these gains, or if big sellers are going to show up and try to force the price down again some more. Of course, getting below this low would be what they would need to do to really indicate a true bear trend continuation. Otherwise, we're just back in this range bound area. All right, well, that's it for Bitcoin. Take one last look at the S&P, and it's looking like there's a little bit of weakness coming in here. We're seeing a bearish candle forming here. Price is wanting to move down, and we are right at or very close to that zero line. So watch out for a cross of that at this level. There could be a short-term bit of continuation, bit of follow-through on that. We could have that pullback, and maybe that would be the pullback to the trend line, or maybe to the 21 EMA, something like that. And then if this trend has more in it, we'll see it continue higher from there. If it doesn't, we'll see it fail to make a higher high and then start to make lower lows. And then we'll know, no question at all, this entire leg now, this entire move is going to retrace, and we can plot that retracement and come up with our levels. So that's what I am waiting to see unfold, and what I am planning to take advantage of when it does unfold. All right, that is it for me, Jonathan Van Clute, Stock Navigators. It is 6 a.m. Opening bell will be in 30 minutes. I'm going to go get ready for the premium chat room. So, those of you who will be there, I'll see you there shortly. For everybody else, the new subscribers we've had recently, welcome. Great to see you here, and hope you enjoy the videos, and would love to have your feedback in the comments below. If there's anything you'd like me to analyze, anything you'd like me to do differently or do more of, or anything in particular that's useful or helpful to you, I'd love to hear about it. We appreciate all the feedback that comes in, and we definitely read all of it, and we'll take all of it into consideration. So that is it for today. We will do this again Wednesday morning. So until then, trade well. Bye bye.